Hello and welcome to Python Lesson 3 Part 2, which is a few useful functions. So in this part of the tutorial we're going to look at 3 useful functions that we can use in our programs every day, each doing different things, but we can combine some of these things to do some quite clever stuff. So the first thing we're going to look at is the round function, and that just rounds to a number of decimal places. The second one is we're going to look at the time function, and that gets the current time. We've already used part of the time module. We've used the time.sleep, and that will sleep for a number of seconds. Well, this is slightly different. This actually gets us what the current time is, although it's epoch time, which is not what you think. And we get the we have the random.randint module, which gets us so the random.randint function, and that gets us a random whole number between 2 values that we give it. So let's get started. First one, round. Round is nice and simple. It merely takes a number that you give it and it rounds it to a certain number of decimal places. So let's say we've got pi equals 3.142. There we go. So there's pi. Sets it at 3.142, and let's say we want to calculate the area of a circle. So area equals, let's say we've got an area of 45, so it'll be pi times 45 times 45. So our area now is, there we go, 6,362.549999999999, which is great, but let's say we only want that to 2 decimal places. What we need to do is we need to do area equals round brackets, and then we put the name of the variable, which would be area, and the number of decimal places what we're rounding to. There we go. And now, if we do that, our area has been rounded to 2 decimal places. Brilliant. Perfect. So that's how we use the round function. Generally, I tend just to use the round function for when I'm displaying floats, displaying floating point numbers, just because it's easy to see. I wouldn't normally actually round the original data, the raw data. I just round it when we're displaying it, because you want to keep as much detail in the data normally as possible. There we go. So that's the round function, just using. And if you notice, you do the name of the variable that you want to round, or you could just put actual data in there, followed by a comma, followed by the number of decimal places. That's it's going to work to. Good. Let's just clear that. So that's the first part, round. There we go. Second part, time. Time.time. Well, let's import time. There we go. So first thing we need to do here is we need to import the time module, because we can't get the time without the time module. And what we'll do is, let's have a look. We'll find out what time it is. So we'll do now equals time.time. And let's have a look at now. There you go. That's time.time. So what is actually happening here? Well, let's have a look. Let's just check that's actually working. Let's get a new time. Let's get now to. And then we'll do now to. There you go. See, as you can see, that number here, when you get it from time.time, is a number that's constantly increasing. That's the number of seconds, and then that is the number of milliseconds. But where's it counting up from? Is it the time from your computer turning on? Is it the time from the start of January this year? No, it's actually the time from the first, the number of seconds, the whole number of seconds since the 1st of January 1970. Now, don't ask me why they picked that. I assume that's because that's the first time they decided to agreed on the epoch time. But all computers count up from the beginning of computer time, which in computer time, or the epoch time, which is the 1st of January 1970, and that's actually the number of seconds since the 1st of January 1970. So why do we want to do that? Well, why do we need that? Well, we don't really use ourselves. We won't use that raw data ourselves to keep track of the time. But what we can do is we can use the time function, the time.time function, to calculate how much time has elapsed since in our program. This will be very useful in challenge 12 when you go onto it and you start to do reaction timer, because you need to be able to calculate between the start and the finish time. So how do we do that? Well, nice and simple. Let's just do start equals time.time. There we go. And so that now has started recording. It's recorded the number of seconds since the 1st of January 1970, which is all very good. There we go. Let's give it 30 seconds as I'm typing. And then we can run the end time.time again. And that will record the time another time since then. There we go. So there's the end time. And then we can work out how much has elapsed. So let's say elapsed equals, and that would be the end time minus the start time. And what we'll do is let's print elapsed, but in fact let's put it inside of an integer first, so we just have a whole number. Elapsed. There we go. And now what this will do is it will tell you how many seconds has elapsed between the start and the end. All I did there by putting it into an int elapsed rather than just putting elapsed itself is, of course, elapsed itself is a float. So we don't really want to float this long. So I did it into an integer. You could, of course, if you wanted, instead of convert it to an integer, you could convert it to a float. Oh, no, it is a float already, sorry. You could use the round function there. And you could put it to, let's say, 3 decimal places or something. There you go. And it will print the time that's elapsed to 3 decimal places. There we go. Perfect. So that's how we use the time.time function. The time module has got loads of other features which we're looking in future lessons, but for the moment that's all we need it for today. So we'll move on to the third thing, which is random. Random.randint. So sometimes in our programs, a lot of time in our programs, especially when you're doing AI, you're going to want to do random, get random numbers. So if you're making, say, a pretend card game, or a game where you've got to guess higher or lower than what the computer's entered, you need the computer to supply you with a random number. And the way we do that is we use the random module. So we need to import random. And we can use the random.randint. So let's say my num equals random.randint. And then we give it 2 numbers, which is the lowest number and the highest number, and it will return a random number. Let's have a look. My num between those 2 values. There you go, 41. Let's run it again. Let's get another number. And again. And there you go. It gives you a different number each and every time. So that's really, really useful if you're trying to do a guessing game or something. So you could do something like this, like let's have a look. Let's have a go. So import random, nice easy program here. Import random, num equals random.randint, 0, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look, and let's do guess equals input guess number, guess a number. So we can guess a number, and then we can do a nice simple thing. If guess is higher than num, but let's call that random. There we go, just to random. If the guess is higher than the random num, then print your guess is higher There we go. Otherwise, if the guess is less than the random, then your guess is lower. It's lower. And then otherwise we can print you guess the same. You guess the same. There we go. So let's have a look. So we get the random module, we calculate, generate a random number, ask the user for a number. In fact, we just made one mistake here. We need to convert guess into an integer, otherwise it won't work. Let's have a look. Guess equals int guess. There we go. Guess equals int guess, so convert it to a whole number, and then we can find out if that works. So find out if it's the same. So guess a number. Let's say try 45. Let's see if that's bigger or smaller. Your guess is lower. Let's try it again. Let's try 80. There we go. Your guess is higher. But actually, let's print out the original number as well. Let's might as well do that. That's a nice fancy thing. The let's have a look. Original. Oh, hidden number. Random number. Random number generated. And then we can just put random. Random. There we go. Now if we do 33, 175, your guess is lower. There you go. Brilliant. And that's really, really useful. You can use that in lots of different things, especially games, generating randomness to add a bit of luck to a game. You also use it in a lot of different things as well. But there you go. Right, good luck. Have a go at the other challenges, and I'll see you next lesson.